being face to face with a dead god really puts things in perspective. All I could see was a giant head nearly 3 stories tall, with its mouth entirely carved out. In its place were 2 massive double doors, the school's entrance, too big for any living being to open. The rest of its body had been buried beneath nearly a mile of dirt and stone, something about it being easier to preserve the body in Magicks-enriched earth. My father said that I'd be a fool to reject the school of Maya's invitation, and I had to agree with him. Schools like Maya accepted 6 or 7 students every decade, and their alumni was the stuff of legend. Studying inside of a dead god had some serious perks, not the least of which was that time essentially stood still inside them. A day outside of the school was a week inside, and time-alter magics like that was incredibly hard to come by these days. A few weeks into my studies, I started to notice some inconsistencies. Different rooms in the school seemed to impact people in strange ways. For most students, the further down you went into the school, the more negative emotions you felt. The school's teachers would always cite one of the school's mottos: death inspires, life demands. They claimed that the further away one was from the outside world, the closer one was to the state of death. Something about the parts of the dead god being too far from the planet's life force? The school staff reassured everyone that the god's death was an absolute certainty, as it was not of this world and simply couldn't survive here. So you could imagine the student body's surprise when something in one of the lowest inhabitable floors started knocking on the walls. The entire school was evacuated immediately, and the school's owner personally explored every single level of the school, even the levels that warped emotion dramatically. A week later, the announcement went out. What people had assumed was a kind of undead evil entity turned out to be the school itself. It seems that even though it wasn't alive by our standards, it still had some capability for interaction with students. In a strange sort of way, the school was trying to help the students here. Some students left as soon as the announcement was released. They argued that if it was even somewhat alive, it might someday decide it didn't like playing dead. But the school's owner explained that it simply wasn't possible for the god to return to life, since it had never truly been alive in the first place. The amazing bit was that the god apparently wanted to help. It was making itself open to communion magics. It almost seemed too good to be true, but several accountants had arrived at the school, monitored the god, and had confirmed the legitimacy of the school's claims. Somehow, the god itself was able to safely commune with the students of this school. Magicks users that could commune with their ancestors could access lifetimes worth of Magicks learnings, but the ability for any Magicks user to commune with something older than recorded time? That was unheard of. There was a single caveat, which the school's owner highlighted on the first day of this discovery. The god itself wasn't sharing all of its information with just anyone. When the counselors had tested out this commune Magicks, each of their experiences were less like exploring a library of Magicks knowledge and more like having a friendly chat with a helpful old man who knew his way around Magicks. I communed for the first time less than a week later, and I was so excited. Everyone had different theories about how to get the best possible information out of the god, and I was no exception. The average student was communing in their dorms, and a few were looking for lucky spots, areas inside the school that held some kind of positive energy. My thoughts? It was all nonsense. Think about it. If the god was in a state of death, wouldn't the areas with the strongest concentration of that get us closer to the god's true self? No one else seemed to have figured that out yet, which was fine by me. If I was able to commune with the god and learn something truly spectacular, then it wouldn't take long for me to become one of the strongest Magicks users in the school. So I'd gone as deep as I could into the school. Not quite the lowest level, but pretty darn close. And when I communed and reached out for the school, I didn't find a library or an old man. I found a startled old woman who looked more like someone's mother than a limitless collection of knowledge. I started asking her about my Magicks, but she stopped me and asked me if I could actually see her. I told her I could, which was only partially true. Communing Magicks is more about seeing in your mind's eye than actually seeing. She seemed almost panicked, and she started asking for my help. She said that this God wasn't dead. Far from it, in fact. The God was in a suspended state, trapped outside of my reality. She said the God had started creating tethers with the students at the school that used commune magics without them knowing. That it would wait until they passed and then integrate bits of their consciousness into its consciousness. By building knowledge and power over years, it might be able to break free from its suspended state. It had apparently integrated bits and pieces of nearly 100 former students over the years, but commune magics wasn't common, and building up enough power to break free from millennia-old magics would take hundreds of years at that rate. Now, the God was passing off the knowledge of these dead magics users as its own, in an attempt to lure more and more souls to commune inside of it. And with the students communing with the God directly, it could set stronger and stronger tethers over the years. Instead of getting fractions of a student's consciousness, it could claim all of it. I wasn't sure how the school's owner would react to hearing this, so I went straight to the accountants with what I'd learned. To my surprise, they took my issue pretty seriously. They immediately suggested we pull memory evidence, which I obviously agreed to. Within minutes, the accountants pulled a memory from my mind where I, in excruciating detail, laid out a plan for getting the school closed with a false accusation. And that wasn't the only memory where this plan of mine appeared. Apparently, I'd been planning all of this for weeks, waiting for the ideal time to spread fear and chaos for my own personal gain. The accountants, bless them, tried to offer me some psychological help. When the school's owner heard about this, he even offered to pay for my treatment. Can you believe that? A student threatens to shut down his school permanently, and he tries to take care of them. Such a class act. I played along for a bit, acted like maybe I needed a bit of help after being so deep in the school, but I made sure to disappear the second I got a chance. I'll give the God points for creativity. I'd never imagined it would try to convince people I was crazy, much less be successful at it. I can't commune with that spirit woman again. I'm technically a fugitive after I freed myself from the accountant's mental protection holdings. Plus, it's not like I can venture that deep into the school again without detection or help. Most of my friends at school genuinely believe I've lost it, which I guess isn't surprising considering how odd they already thought I was. And now, here I am, outside the school owner's window in the middle of the night, watching him and wondering how everything got so out of hand. I'm not entirely sure what happened to him, but it's clear that he was compromised somehow. Was he under the God's control? Maybe the God just offered him something that he was willing to sacrifice the student body for. Something happened to him when he was investigating the school that week. I just needed to figure out what. It's thankless work, trying to save countless lives, but someone's got to do it, right?